Hello and welcome to today's reading. Today's going to be a Mercury retrograde reading, and where we are in the present, we're currently finishing out a Mercury retrograde cycle with only a few days left, and then we'll be entering the shadow phase. So some of my language will reflect that, but wherever you are in the future, please feel free to edit what I'm saying as you hear it, please. The four major questions we're going to be asking include: what was your theme? What advice for moving forward? What to expect from the shadow period? And any extra messages. The four piles that I have laid out for you are the Waite Tarot deck with this Grim Reaper, the Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck with this bunny, for pile number 3, we have this Prism Tarot deck with this bear. And then for pile number 4, we have the Light Seer's Tarot deck with this little balloon ghosty girl. So take your time to pick your pile and then go to the description and go ahead and choose your timestamp, and I'll see you there. Hello, pile 1, and welcome to your reading. If you picked the Waite Tarot deck or the little Grim Reaper, this is for you. The first card I pulled for you when I asked what was your theme is the Two of Pentacles. Now this tells me you were stuck between, deciding between two things, two jobs, two people, two situations, and you just don't really know what to decide. If you look behind him, we have this grand ship, lots of sails and masts, and then this little boat over here. One of them is quite big, which means it's got a lot of people working behind the scenes, making everything run. Perhaps there's more protection for those big waves. And then that little boat, it looks like it's still trucking along. It's still getting there. It's a smaller boat. It's got less people going on. And, it's one's big option, and one's a little, maybe reliable still, but a much smaller seeming option. So again, this could be two jobs. One of them could be really big. Let's say you applied to like Samsung, okay? I don't know if you've seen, they have amazing cafeterias for their workers. I've never seen a work cafeteria ever in my life, actually. But maybe you have this job offer from Samsung and you think it's really, really cool. You'd love to do it, but you'd have to relocate, move your whole life, the whole thing. And then on the other hand, maybe you got hired at your local, like, fix-it computer shop, or you have a job offer there, So you can stay in your hometown, close to your family, close to your friends, or if you are living married with kids and everything, maybe this is the safer option because you wouldn't have to move your whole life and theirs. But again, it's a smaller operation. It's a smaller job overall. It's definitely not Samsung, When I ask for cards to represent each of these decisions that are being weighed, I got the Ace of Cups and the Five of Wands. So again, little boat, big boat. Maybe if you chose this Samsung job, everyone's upset. Everyone's fighting, We all have nice clothes. We all have the same size wands. We've all got relatively the same abundance, the same benefits here. And yet we're all fighting. We're all arguing. Because let's face it, if you're a kid and you're moving because of dad's job or mom's job or whatever it is, you're not worrying about the money. You're worrying about your friends or your favorite park or whatever it could be. And then over here, maybe this is you choosing a decision out of love. It's a small opportunity it's a new opportunity. It's an ace, so you don't know too much about it, but it looks nice. And given it's the Ace of Cups, I would say it's promising. And again, it represents love to me. It represents an emotion. So maybe this is an emotionally driven situation, given we have the Ace of Cups and the Five of Wands. Those are two passionate in different way type of cards. Another example I want to bring to the table here is maybe you're engaged and you're deciding between a big wedding or a little wedding, or eloping and not having a wedding at all, you know. With the economy, obviously, this has been a big question going around for a couple of years now. Do we go forward with a huge wedding and, you know, postpone buying a house and all these things? Or do we just bite the bullet and hurt people's feelings, do a little bit of a elopement situation, or people are doing a lot of these micro mini weddings where they only have like 25 people and that sort of thing. You know, it's like, on the one hand, if I do the huge wedding, everyone's going to be around. You know, maybe you don't love how your family interacts, and if everyone goes, everyone's going to be fighting and it's going to be drama, da da da. And if you elope, it's going to be peaceful. It's going to be just you two. It'll be smaller, less that you can maybe do with the day. You know, you're not going to be doing group games and, you know, dancing, group dances and things like that. But you can make up your own traditions, you know. So it could just be something like this. To me, it seems like one decision you make, there's going to be arguments. One decision you make, there might be peace. Maybe either decision you make, there will be both. Maybe these also can represent, you know, if you make other people happy, then you're unhappy. But if you make other people unhappy, you'll be happy. And when I ask for advice on moving forward, because that's a toughie, we get the King of Pentacles. So this tells me you have to pick what's going to make you feel the most stable, grounded, down to earth, what's going to make you feel the most abundant. So again, with the wedding, if you think, you know, paying for a huge wedding you really can't afford isn't going to make you feel very abundant in the end, just don't do that. Just be honest with yourself. But if you feel like having that big wedding with everybody you've ever known is what's going to make you feel happy and abundant and like you've got everything that you want and need, you know, that's your decision. But you have to go with what's going to make you feel, you know, like you have it all, like you've completed, you know, that journey of growing your garden, harvesting all of the fruits of your labor, and then being able to enjoy it with everybody and, you know, see the bounty. In my opinion, I just want to say you got to worry about you, because at the end of the day, it's you fighting for you, you know? If all of these people are going to fight regardless, like if your family's like mine, there's always something to fight about. So if I don't invite you, you're going to be upset. But if I do invite you, you're going to be weird. You know, it's like somebody's going to always have some sort of problem. Maybe the current place you work at, there's always drama and they're always fighting. Maybe they're stealing each other's clients or sales or whatever it is. And you know how the system works and you do make okay money there, but there's always going to be drama. You don't really know what to expect with this other thing, but it seems really nice, and it might be kind of a small offer, but it has the things you're looking for. It speaks to maybe your heart and soul and emotional state. Maybe it has the potential of getting you where you're trying to be. When I asked for what to expect from your shadow period, we get the Magician. That tells me you only have to expect whatever you manifest to come true. So that basically means here, the decision you make, right? That's what's going to change the outcome. Whatever you are going to expect will be the direct result of the decision you make. So if you want to elope, you know, that's your decision. You'll be happy. You know, if you want to have that big wedding, maybe you'll still be happy, but maybe you'll be in a little bit more debt. You know, these are just the things you have to weigh. When I ask for extra messages, we get the Lovers. We get the Ten of Pentacles. You can't see. We get the Nine of Pentacles. And then the Hierophant. Now, this tells me you should be chasing your ultimate harmony. If that means you know, coming into that vibration of your higher self where you're making informed decisions for your future, for your highest good, for what makes you happy. This could be you as a couple choosing your wedding situation again. Choose what's best for you guys. Choose what makes you happy, because at the end of the day, it's about you. It's not about anybody else, you know. We have the Ten of Pentacles and the Nine of Pentacles. This tells me focus on your abundance, focus on your family. Sorry, these cards. I noticed there's a little baby here. Maybe you're wanting to build a family of your own. Focus on your future family. Here's a grandparent with these dogs. It reminds me of my grandfather that passed away only a little over a month ago now. I like to imagine that he's with his two poodle mixes that looked a lot like these two white dogs here. But maybe this represents your family. Maybe you also have a grandparent that recently or not so recently passed on, and maybe they want to say hi. Maybe they also have their two doggies. But I see the Ten of Pentacles here, and I just see, you know, focus on you. You and your ultimate goal, whether it's coming into union with your partner, getting married, if that's the goal, getting your new job, if that's the goal. Focus on the future and the family that you're trying to build. You know, this is ultimate abundance. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got them all, you know. And this is the Nine of Pentacles. I almost called her the Queen. She has it all, you know, herself. The only thing missing is really the family, if you think about it. Because it's not just a partner or, you know, a home, a job, whatever. It's the family. That's the only thing missing. That's what makes you feel abundant in the end. And if you're weighing between, you know, your big family of everybody versus your future made family of just you, your partner, your kids that you may or may not choose to have, or the family members you choose to keep around, or maybe it's people that you're not even really related to, but you've just become family. You know, keep your eyes focused on that, on the family that you're creating for yourself, because there's no real rules, you know. You already have all this abundance within you. You've worked really hard. I can tell by all these pentacle cards you're a hardworking person. And it's time for you to enjoy the fruits of your labor, to take a second and enjoy, you know, what's around you, what you've built for yourself. And then the Hierophant, if you'll look here, I feel like you're going to, whatever decision you end up making, in the end, it's going to be the right one, first of all, because you're trusting your intuition. We don't make decisions without thinking it through first, right? It's going to be the right decision. Sorry, my dog is drinking water. We're back. He's done. So yes, I believe you're going to be making the right decision. You just have to focus on your intuition. Pick what resonates within you and your, you know, deepest desires. When you think of getting married, do you care about who's there, or do you just care about getting married? You know, when you think about going to work every day, maybe you're in a place that's like has a really successful reputation, but the people you work with are drama. Is it worth the success of the place that you work in if you're not happy and everyone else sucks and it's not, what people make it out to be? Maybe it's worth taking a little bit of a pay cut at first if you know you're going to be able to build it up into abundance, abundance, abundance. You are the magician, making the decisions, deciding what's going to happen. I feel like the Lovers is also just telling you you're going to be making this decision because you're focused on your true happiness. You're focused on fulfilling your purpose, really. That's what I just heard. It's not about everybody else. It's not about this group of people fighting over here. It's about you. You're the one with the opportunities. You're the one with the abilities here. And then in the end, you're just going to have people, oh, please, please. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry we fought all the time. We're ugly and bald now. Sorry, bald people aren't ugly, but these people are, okay? We're ugly now, and we just wish that you still loved us, and please invite us to your party. Please let us fight in your presence. Oh my God. No. I figured it out. You say, you're always going to be like this. And now you're at my feet begging me for these 2 keys. But they're mine. This is my house. This is my party. This is my job. This is my business that I built. My project that I did all on my own. And no, you cannot be a part of it. Because you had the chance. And you've been fighting about nothing. Stupid. Yeah. That's my intuition anyway. If you don't jive with the word stupid, that's okay. We're going to move on to our oracle cards. The first card I pulled was from the Moon Witch deck. It's such a beautiful deck. The first card we pulled was the Dark Moon. Pause and rest. You deserve it. So you've been weighing this decision. You've been juggling these 2 things. Clearly, you're somebody that, worries about every aspect of the situation. You're concerned about other people's feelings. Maybe you're not even considering yourself very much in the situation at all. So, take this time to just pause and rest. Maybe take a nap. Maybe have a little spa day, or go to the beach if you live by the beach, or, take a walk through some park if you're able to. Excuse me. Just take a moment and just be mindful to enjoy some time to yourself. The next card we pulled was from the self-care. Let me see. I want to see what it's called. It's from the Sacred Self-Care Oracle deck. We got Make a Meal. Maybe things have been going a little too fast for you. You've been working a lot. Maybe you've been dealing with school. Maybe you've had, excuse me, maybe you've had some hard things happening in the family. It's just been difficult, and you've been neglecting maybe eating things that make you feel good. Maybe focusing on whole foods and just home preparation. When you're cooking for yourself and you're smelling things, and you eat with your eyes first, you're seeing it as you cook. Use, or rather take an opportunity to enjoy cooking for yourself, because it gets to be a chore. But every now and then we have the opportunity to really slow down and just have a good meal. Maybe it's just going to be, it looks like she's making like a cute little tofu bowl situation, but, make yourself some spaghetti. Oh, shoot. Make yourself whatever it is that's your favorite meal that you haven't made in a long time. Sometimes we just don't cook the things that we like just because, I was just talking with my boyfriend recently. I had never made him a chicken pot pie, and we've been together almost 3 years now. And chicken pot pie is just my grandparents' favorite thing. So recently I did make some. I made 2, and we finally had it together, and it was really nice to have some chicken pot pie after a long time of not having my own homemade version, because let's just face it, some things are way better homemade. So yeah, that's my advice to you. If there's a meal that maybe you're really good at and you used to make a lot and you haven't in a long time, let's revisit that. We got from the Wild Child Oracle deck, we've got Echo, and it did come out reversed. Now, I don't really read Oracle decks reversed typically, but I wanted to today because these aren't negative. Echo in reverse kind of, to me, can kind of speak about maybe you heard something and it was misconstrued. You know, think of a game of telephone and how you start out saying one thing and you end up saying something ridiculous at the end. Like, the monkey was wearing striped, a striped sweater. And then at the end, someone's saying, the money has a wire hanger. Like, what does that even mean, you know? So maybe you heard something that had already been passed around a couple times and it got to you and it sounds messed up. Maybe someone said something about you and it's really weighing on you, hurting your feelings, but you know what? Maybe you just have to say, it wasn't meant for me. It's not for me to worry about. If it's so dang interesting that they want to talk about it, let them. You know what I mean? Focus on the beautiful butterflies in front of you. Focus on the moon above you. With this bunny and his big ears, it tells me you heard something repeated maybe by somebody else and you just didn't like it. So I think I just want to say, first of all, I'm sorry if you did, because it sucks to be talked about. But at the same time, I want to say, maybe whoever is the one feeding you this information is the one making matters worse, you know? Because if someone hears someone go, oh, I hate when people do this, then they're going to go to you and say, so-and-so said that you do this all the time and they hate that about you. It's like, maybe something got misconstrued along the way and you need to just not put any time and energy and thought towards it, because it's just not worth your time and energy. It's not worth your brain matter, I have 2 Moonology decks. One is the Moonology Oracle deck and one is the Moonology Manifestation deck. I will be honest, I don't know which one's which, but I pulled one from each. So we've got Conclusions Are Within Reach and Full Moon Eclipse. And then we have New Moon in Pisces, Attuned to the Divine. Maybe you're going to have something happen on the next full moon eclipse. Maybe you're going to finally get an answer to something you've been wondering about. With the beginning of this reading and you weighing your 2 options, right? Maybe by the next full moon, maybe you're going to get that answer, New Moon in Pisces, Attuned to the Divine. I am a Pisces. Hello, hi. I have 6 Pisces placements. I'm basically as Pisces as it gets. One thing about Pisces, sometimes it's not even us letting life happen to us, or at least it doesn't feel that way. Life kind of just happens to us. And I have learned in my life to not get my hopes up too high, because things tend to not go the way that I plan to or want them to, right? Like, think about when you're young and you imagine what you're going to be like when you grow up, and it's like you get there and you're nothing like you imagined, it just kind of is what it is. So in those moments where I find myself like, oh, what's going to happen. You know, I want a plan, but things seem out of my control, out of my hands. I kind of have to take a moment and go, okay, higher self, ancestors, you know, whatever. Sometimes you just have to take a 5-minute nap and reset and go at the situation again. Maybe take this opportunity to, you know, center yourself, put yourself into future you's shoes and think, where do I want to be? What do I want to look like? What do I want to sound like? When it comes to your decision you're weighing, what am I going to be happy with deciding years later on? You know, would I regret not going with this job? Would I regret eloping or having the big wedding? Would I regret choosing, you know, this school versus that school? Ask yourself those things. And maybe by the next full moon or full moon eclipse, you'll be able to have a very solid answer for yourself of what you want to do. It's okay not to know immediately what you want to do. Use this time to maybe just meditate and focus on your spiritual side, much like a Pisces. I also pulled a couple chakra cards. The first one that came out was Vanity. And then the next one was Instinct. Now, I can't remember right now, but I think you were the only one that got 2 chakra cards. Vanity, as we can see, there's this crazy old man with a staff, crazy hair, you know, he's got his smoke all around him, and then there's people standing around in business casual, or really a little bit dressier business, but you know, she's got a low back dress and her little clutch purse, she's got her jewelry on, their hair's done, they've all got drinks on or in their hands, and they're looking at this guy like, what in the world? Like, they're clearly out in the city and he's just like being a wackadoodle, and they're like, what's your problem, you know? And then you take a step back and you're like, well, who's weird here, him or them? You know, like, he's just being himself, and they all kind of look the same if you think about it. They're all dressed up with their glasses, and he's just got his own thing going on. And I think sometimes we worry a little bit too much about what other people think about us, and maybe that's what your major issue with the decision that you're weighing between is. Maybe you don't want people to see you a certain way, or maybe you do want them to see you a certain way, and that's the whole problem, you know? Then we have Instinct, and maybe that's just your instinct to care about what people think of you, to care about how other people are going to react to your decision. I've seen many situations where people there's controlling people in your lives, or there's expectations over your head, and it's only natural for you to act a certain way, be a certain way, do a certain thing. But maybe we need to stop caring so much about how we come off or look, or, you know, how people talk about us, for instance, and, you know, forgive our instincts because it's only natural to us. Or at the same time, maybe you're not trusting your instincts. Maybe you're going against what you believe in, what is right to you, what you want to do, because you don't want to look crazy, you know? Maybe you want to do, you know, that new job that has much less pay, but is the opportunity that you want because you know what you can build with it, and you're trusting your instincts, but you know you're going to look crazy, and you're like, what do I do? Well, in this case, I'm just going to have to say, trust your instincts. Who cares if you look a little crazy for a minute? I mean, they're going to remember you, you know? If it's about success, they're going to remember. If it's just about you, who cares what they think, you know? And again, if it's something like, you know, again, you're being told, we want you to stay home, you know, we want you to stay close to home, we want you to have the wedding with everybody, we want you to choose the school that we want you to go to, whatever it may be. Maybe you need to finally go against those instincts and say, that is not my decision. That's your decision. Like their decision. That's them telling you what to do, and you don't want to do that anymore. And you shouldn't have to. And then for my angel answer cards, we've got opportunity. So this tells me this opportunity, right, is yours to take. It's the only opportunity presented towards you at the moment, right? But it's yours to take. And if you want to accept it, you can. If you don't want to, don't. It's all up to you. Just remember that Magician card. Maybe the opportunity is to finally have a peaceful breakaway where it's just you and your new family. Maybe this opportunity is you going to that big school you've been really scared to go to, but you really want to go to. That new job, Maybe the opportunity is just to finally be yourself. Maybe you're just like, do I stay in my big house with my family, where rent is free, but my mental state is just in shambles? Or do I decide I'm going to go out on a limb and rent that little studio apartment and, take life by the horns and have a new beginning for myself? So anyway, this was really fun reading for you, Pile 1. I hope that this helped you in some way. I hope you got some clarity. With that big decision, just meditate, spend some time with the earth. You got a lot of earth cards. I feel like you should just be outside, grounding yourself, stepping on grass with your bare feet, going into the water if there's any water around you, At the end of the day, you got to focus on you. It doesn't matter if you look a little bit crazy in the process. It's your life, and you got to make your own decisions. And, if you've got an argumentative family or coworkers or whatever, it appears that they're just always going to be that way no matter what. So there's nothing you can do to make them, peaceful. There's no way to change a 5 of Wands group into an Ace of Cups individual, So that is my advice to you, to just trust your intuition. Don't do what other people want you to do. Do what you want you to do. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Pile 2. So if you chose the, what is this one? The Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck, or the Little Bunny, then this is your reading. The first card I pulled for you when I asked what the general theme of your Mercury retrograde is or was, I get the King of Wands. So this could represent somebody in your life. This could represent you, okay? Maybe someone really took over your Mercury retrograde, maybe you got back with an ex, or maybe even this King of Wands person has just been like taking over your mind space. Maybe you've just got somebody on your mind, and there's 2 lines in the back. Maybe it's even 2 people. Maybe you have 2 really cool guys, or 2 very, two people with a leadership quality maybe are both in your life, and they've been just like taking over your mental space. Or even maybe you are trying to become this King of Wands. Maybe you're trying to be the boss. Maybe you're trying to be the leader and the star of the show, so to say. When I ask for something to explain this a little bit better, I get the 8 of Pentacles followed by the Ace of Swords. It looks like you've been working hard towards something, and maybe you've been working hard towards an opportunity, or to even give an offer. Maybe you've been like, I really want to ask this person out, but I'm not going to do it until I have, all my 8 Pentacles into place, and then I will, offer them this Ace of Swords, Maybe things have just been in the works for a really long time and you're waiting for that opportunity. And so maybe this is what's been on your mind. I gotta work hard so I can get to that opportunity, so I can be the boss, so I can be the leader. When I ask for advice for moving forward, I get the Three of Cups and I get the Page of Cups. This tells me maybe you need to talk to your friends. Maybe you've been neglecting your friends. If you've been working really, really hard, maybe you've been, not putting out any time for play. My neighbors are always moving furniture around. Maybe you haven't been hanging out with people. Maybe it's just been you and work and you and coworkers, maybe sometimes you and family, or maybe you even need to talk to your family. This could represent, siblings to me. This could represent even coworkers. Maybe it's, a call for you to find community, to have a conversation, just to join that water, what do they say? The water dispenser talk or whatever, there's a reason people want to form relationships, because at the end of the day, you're with each other so much of your time throughout the week. You have to be nice, at least, it's kind of miserable to be around that person that's like, I'm not here to make friends, I'm just here to get my money or whatever. It's like, well, yeah, at the end of the day, we're all here for the money, but we're just trying to make the most of it, right? So be the person that makes the most of it. If you find yourself focused too much on being the King of Wands, it might not pan out too well. Like with this Ace of Swords, if you were to ask a yes or no question and you got the Ace of Swords, I would be inclined to say that it's a no. So if you find yourself isolating yourself, working, because all you think to yourself is, I just want to be the boss, I want to be the best, I want to be the leader, maybe you're going to lose out on your friends. Maybe you're going to miss out on this opportunity. Maybe you keep thinking, oh, it's just a stinky fish, but that's like a really good opportunity that you're passing up because you just want to be the boss of this thing that you didn't even create, maybe, and if you have Leo energy, that's the King of Wands. If you do have that Leo energy, I don't think, I'm a Leo rising. I don't think us big Leo placements are ever happy unless what we do, feels like it came from us in a way. It has to really align with both our intellectual side and our creativity. We have to be able to show off our talents for us to be really, truly pleased and happy. And if you have to work so hard to be recognized, and it's not looking good from what I can see, maybe you're neglecting something in the process. Maybe you're supposed to be focusing on your relationships more than this opportunity that's, not really for you. Maybe there's this opportunity you've been overlooking and you're not going to get there until you talk to your friends and they say, oh, hey, so-and-so over here is hiring, for the same price that you're looking for, the same hourly rate that you want, better benefits, or maybe, it pays a little bit less, but it's closer to home, so you don't even need to drive if you didn't want to. Maybe you need to reconnect with friends, family, old coworkers, old classmates, whatever it may be, and find that opportunity that's been waiting for you over here. When I ask what to expect from the shadow period, I get the Moon in reverse. Maybe something that you've been trying to find the answer to finally reveals itself to you. Maybe you finally get that answer. Maybe the secret comes out. Maybe whatever's been going on with that person, right? Maybe they finally tell you. Or maybe for you, maybe you've been like, I don't know what's going on, something's happening with me, maybe you've been going to the doctor for something and you finally find that answer. And again, maybe this is, you haven't been talking to your friends, and what you can expect after this is that, there's no more secrets, because the moon can represent our inner emotional state, the things that we're hiding, our secrets. So maybe with the moon in reverse, you know, after the shadow period, you're finally going to feel open there, you know. Maybe you're going to find the answer you're looking for. Maybe you're going to finally open up to somebody that you've been needing to open up to. And then for extra messages, we got Temperance. We got Ace of Pentacles. And we got Ace of Wands. So, Temperance, represented by Libra. You know, she's pouring from one cup into another, but as you can see, it's in one continuous stream. One cup is upside down, the other one is way up high, and yet the water is still going and they're just fine, you know. Things might feel up in the air and out of control, or maybe weird, maybe just plain weird. It's Mercury retrograde after all. Jupiter just moved from Cancer to Leo, you know. I'm assuming whoever chose this has Leo placements, and you're probably starting to feel finally like things are balancing again. Maybe you have been working so hard to be the leader, or maybe you've been working so hard as the leader and you're finally ready to step back and say, I'm not leading your operation anymore. I'm going to create mine now, you know? Maybe things are finally balancing out and your creativity and your logical side are finally in balance. Maybe this hard work is finally getting to a point where it's not just all work and no play. Maybe you finally have coworkers you like, you know? Maybe this all leads you to this new opportunity of the Ace of Pentacles, a new stable opportunity, because it started with the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords is not my favorite ace. Like I said, if I ask a question and that comes out, I take it as a no. I take it as a harsh answer. And the way that he's holding that card as well, I'll fix it in a moment, but the way that he holds this card as well, blade in the hand, he's cutting his hand over it, you know. It's almost giving me like, let me take this opportunity, like whatever it takes, I want it, you know. You're gonna cut your hand over it. Is it worth that? What if you work with your hands? What good are your hands if they're all tore up by this opportunity that you just couldn't let go, that you wanted so bad, you know, that you hurt yourself in the process? Maybe if you talk to your friends, talk to that group of people that you usually don't want to talk to, you'll find out about this opportunity, and it'll take you to this moment where things finally start to balance out and finally start to feel okay. You know, you have this Ace of Pentacles, a new steady opportunity. Maybe that's what you've been waiting for this whole time. You got the Ace of Swords first, and maybe it was a no. Maybe you applied for that management position. Maybe, you know, you asked that person out that you were sure that they liked you back and you were going to be a thing. and it hurts to get rejected, or it hurts to feel like maybe you did go out. Maybe they said yes and you went out together and you're like, I don't even like them. Like, why was I so hung up on them this whole time anyway, you know? And maybe you just need to focus on you and your friends. Focus on this opportunity that you weren't really prepared to take, but maybe it's the opportunity that you were supposed to take. Maybe it's the conversation that you were supposed to have that you didn't want to have, and it leads you here, which leads you to the Ace of Wands, which to me reads as, you know, taking on a safer route leads you to an exciting opportunity, leads you to an exciting person, leads you to, you know, the start of actually being that King of Wands that you want to be, or the start of meeting that King of Wands that you're trying to meet, you know? So I would say obviously keep working hard, but don't work at the expense that you're just bleeding knuckles. You know, no reward. You're not the king. You want to be. You're working towards it. You're doing everything that you think you're supposed to do. And maybe this whole time you've thought, wow, I do all the work, you know, I show up on time, I do my work, I'm polite, you know, I do the best sales, whatever it may be. And then you have these coworkers over here and you're like, they do nothing. They talk all day, they do whatever they want. How are they getting paid the same as me? Or how are they getting paid more than me? Or whatever it is. And maybe you just need to, maybe this is you even. Maybe you need to just, hey guys, hey, I know I never go out to lunch with you, or, you know, pitch in when you bring bagels, and I never, you know, chat at the water cooler with you or whatever, but, you know, I want to be friends. And maybe that's the beginning of things finally going the way that you've been wanting them to this whole time. Maybe that was the lesson that you had to learn this Mercury retrograde was, you know, sometimes we're not recognized for how hard we work, even though we should be. Sometimes we have to be recognized for how much we expend ourselves to other people. And, you know, sometimes we are recognized more for how we actually try to form relationships and try to be a person that people like to see in the office every day. Or, you know, I've focused a lot on work here, I know, but maybe you've been working really hard to be this person that your family sees as dependable and trustworthy, but you've always been like the youngest. Or maybe you made one mistake when you were really young and they never let you live it down, you know, and you've been working so hard to prove them wrong, prove them otherwise, when really maybe you just needed to sit at that table that you never sit at and talk to these people that you never really want to talk to, and then they realize you're a cool person and you realize that maybe they don't suck after all, you know, and maybe, just maybe, it leads to this balance that you've been craving and an opportunity that you've been waiting for and something exciting that you're not even really expecting yet. You know, I think that's a fun one. And if you are Leo placement, Sun, Moon, Rising, or, you know, really anything, I feel your pain. I love astrology. I don't always keep up with the transits as closely, so I didn't realize the Jupiter and Cancer situation was going to be as tough as it was for me, but let me tell you, I'm ready for it to be in Leo. For Magic Wand, for your Witch Moon card, Moon Witch card, I pulled Magic Wand. Focus your energy on one thing. So your card, the Eight of Pentacles, maybe you had 8 you know, projects. Maybe that's just an exaggeration, but maybe you had so many projects. Maybe it wasn't even you working so hard on one thing. Maybe it's been you focusing on so many things because you want to be the best, you know. And us Leos, right, we have natural talents. Things, you know, things come to us in ways that maybe they don't come to others. And so maybe you find yourself good at dancing and good at singing and good at writing, but you don't find yourself very great at anything these days, which is something that totally happens sometimes, right? We don't focus on one area, and so we're just mediocre in a bunch. Maybe you need to pick one talent, really focus on it, hone it in, make something out of it, you know? In the previous pile, we got the Magician, and so this is kind of making me think Magician again, like you do create your future, and all you have to do is put your mind towards something and decide to stick with it, and, you know, something will come of it, because that's just how it is. Hard work does pay off, whether you're a very slow moving earth sign or quick fire sign or whatever. You just have to decide, you know. I have a hard time with decision too, so I get it. For yourself, the Sacred Self-Care deck, we pulled Connect with the Earth, number 13. I'm going to give a little close-up of all these little gems and everything around. I think that's really fun. Connect with the Earth. So, yeah, again, maybe you've been working really hard at being the best, being the boss, being recognized, being somebody's best friend, you know, whatever it is. Maybe you've been trying so hard to be somebody else's favorite or something when you're neglecting yourself. You are neglecting your own natural, drive for being outside and in nature and just absorbing the vitamins that nature offers to us, you know, absorbing all these new sights and smells and memories you can create just by going on a simple walk. Maybe you've been working so hard and you go from work to your car to bed, you know. Maybe you need to take a minute to sit outside if you have a backyard, or, you know, like I said, go on a walk. Take some time to just connect with Mother Nature, connect with the earth, like it says, and, go inwards. Sometimes things don't matter. The things that have been mattering to us, those things don't matter so much once we're actually out in the world doing things we love to do, smelling things that smell good, seeing things that are beautiful. You know, you see some animals just doing their own thing and you're like, wow, it really is that simple when you think about it, you know. It's not about getting the next promotion all the time. It's not about being, you know, the most popular in school or whatever. Like, sometimes it's just about feeling the happiest you can feel, and I don't think you can possibly get there without spending some time with nature. For your Wild Child Oracle card, we got Shelter. So maybe this whole thing stems from wanting stability. Maybe you're working really hard so that you can have a stable life. Us Leos definitely go through tumultuous upbringings. Excuse me. Us Leo risings with that 4th house in Scorpio. You know, a tough family dynamic is no secret to us. And maybe this past Mercury retrograde, you've been focusing a lot on, oh, I just really want to move out. Maybe you're still at home, or maybe you're in an apartment you don't love, or maybe you're just really, really long for that house situation. You just really wish you could be in this, you know, beautiful house to call your own with all your own everything and your family, you know. Or maybe even you just feel like life is a storm right now. Maybe you just need to find a little shelter, connect with the earth, go outside, be by yourself, you know. You don't always have to be there while everything is crazy. For your Moonology manifestation and oracle cards, we've got New Moon in Leo. Oops. And we've got Surrender to the Divine, Full Moon. So, wow, that's funny. I think the last pile was a full moon and a new moon as well. So New Moon in Leo. This is giving Leo, 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 Leo. New Moon in Leo. Maybe you have talents that you're not expressing. We saw the King of Wands and then we saw the 8 of Pentacles. I mean, 8 of Pentacles, that's like, that's just very, very, very earth sign, you know. What do we associate with earth signs? Working hard, you know, the grind. Maybe you're not focusing on your fiery side enough. Maybe it's just been all work, all grind, and you need to finally let your own natural abilities shine through. Not just what you're capable of, but your natural abilities, things that you have that other people don't have. Maybe you have maybe you're a tarot reader. Maybe you have this gift of interpreting cards for people, or, maybe you get these, psychic downloads. Maybe you just have a very strong intuition and you're not using it, and you're not, being honest with yourself about it or other people. Maybe you're just not sharing these things and you're afraid to, put yourself out there. But, this card is encouraging you to shine. You're not a Leo because you don't have anything to offer. Let's just say it that way. And then surrender to the divine, full moon. Maybe you have something, we have a full moon coming up, I believe. Maybe you're having, this back and forth, and you want to be that king, right? You want to be, I have it all together. I've made it to the highest point that I can make it. I'm the boss. But you still have so much to do to get there. Or maybe you have things to work on you don't want to admit, and maybe you need to set some intentions for whichever's coming next for you, the full moon or the new moon. Set some intentions and see what steps you can take along the way when those opportunities reveal themselves to you. Take them, surrender to the divine. Maybe you've been planning so hard on what it looks like for you to be the boss or to be successful, or whatever your end goal is. Maybe you have a very strong idea in your head, but what you really need to do is ask yourself, what could that look like? Not what do I want it to look like, but what could it actually look like? What is it, what options are out there for me? Not just what you can think of, but what, sometimes we don't ask for enough. Sometimes we don't dream big enough. Sometimes the goal you have in mind is smaller than the goal that the universe has in mind for you, Maybe things keep failing because you're not going after something big enough. Or, sometimes surrendering sets you free. We're used to being in a world where you got to work really hard for what you get, and it is true, sitting around doing nothing is not going to get you anywhere. But sometimes you're working against a very strong current. Maybe it's really, really trying to pull you over to here in point B, but you're like, I'm in point A where I like to be, and this is where I am, So anyway, surrender. Let your natural talent shine. Don't be afraid to change course. Don't be afraid to have a different end goal than what you previously had in mind. For your chakra card, we got passion. So you clearly have a talent you're passionate about, or a goal, or, maybe a business model even. You have something you're passionate about. You have, maybe there's something that really sets your heart on fire and you just can't let it go. Maybe ever since you were a child, you just really wanted to be, a doctor. You wanted to be, a librarian, a singer, like whatever it is. Now, am I going to tell you to quit your day job to be any of these things? No, but I want you to chase those dreams, because maybe you're going to have your Hannah Montana moment where you get to go to your 9-to-5 with your stable income and your benefits and your coworkers that you're friends with or used to or can become friends with. Maybe you're supposed to. And then you get to go home and once a week or, a couple times a month or whatever it is, you get to go be Hannah Montana on stage, singing the songs that you write or dancing the dances you choreographed, Maybe you have a side business that you're supposed to start working on, and you keep telling yourself you're not going to be able to until XYZ. Well, honey, you got to decide. I'm good at this, I'm good at that, I'm good at this, I'm good at this. I'll let whichever one works out the best be the one that stays. But what are you doing? You're working really, really hard at these practical things, and that's great, and you should be. But you have things that you're passionate about. You just have to pick one. There is no XYZ. The time is now. We have a new moon. We have a full moon coming up. You need to use those opportunities to choose what you want to do, when you're going to do it, so that you can get your abundance. Your angels are telling you to listen to your intuition, because that's what's going to bring you your abundance. Focus your energy. Maybe that's what this opportunity is going to be. You have a creative opportunity coming in after taking your stable opportunity. And you get to focus your energy finally on the thing that you're passionate about. You know? And maybe that will be what finally brings you your abundance. That finally brings you to be that King of Wands that you're trying to be. You know, if this King of Wands represented somebody that was a theme over your Mercury retrograde, maybe you needed to ignore them. Maybe that Ace of Swords was a rejection from them, and you thought, well, I worked so hard to get their attention. I worked so hard to be so good for them. What could I have possibly done wrong? Maybe your friends need to tell you, honey, you didn't do anything wrong. You literally have it all. You're talented. You know, you have a great intuition, so you need to listen to it. You need to stop putting yourself out in the cold. Find your shelter. Surrender to the divine. Oh my goodness. Let your talents shine because you have them. And if anything, if there is a King of Wands that is working against you, you know that they're jealous of that shine. If you are a Leo individual, specifically if you're a Leo rising, and you have had experiences with a Leo moon, something about it, they want to be you. I don't know what it is. Maybe you had an issue with a fellow Leo and you thought that you were really getting along because you're similar, and they wanted you to feel like you weren't good enough. But I'm telling you, they're intimidated because you're so good. You're so good at so many things. And all you got to do is choose one, and you're going to blow everybody out of the water. So talk to your friends, or start to make friends with your coworkers. Take that opportunity that you've been neglecting to take, nervous to take. Maybe you've overlooked it because it just looks like a stinky fish in a cup, but it is the ticket to that new stable opportunity, that new creative opportunity, and your abundance. Thank you, Pile 2. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some answers you were looking for. Let me know if this does align with the Mercury retrograde that you've been experiencing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Pile number 3, if you picked the Prism Tarot or the Little Bear, this is your reading. I already placed out a few of your cards. I had to stop and restart your reading a couple times, so we're gonna just truck along here. When I asked what was your theme for this Mercury retrograde, I got Apprentice of Lightning, 3 of Raindrops, and the Hierophant. So as a couple of options, maybe you went on a vacation, a trip, maybe you've just had a very eventful, all over the place kind of Mercury retrograde where things are just kind of happening. Maybe you got to see people you haven't seen in a long time, talk with old friends, some relatives that don't live close by, maybe. And then with the Hierophant unlearn, that tells me you've kind of realized a truth about a situation, a person, a place, a somebody, something. Maybe you've decided you don't mesh with a religion you were grown up to, raised to believe. Maybe you've realized friends of yours aren't friends after all, or, maybe you've realized a certain family member you never got along with was just misunderstood. You know what I mean? Like, this really could be a few different things here. But if you add adventure plus community plus unlearn, I'm seeing maybe, you've had kind of a whirlwind of something happen, whether it's a trip or just an event with people or your family, and you've kind of come to the conclusion of something. So sometimes we go on vacation with people and we get back from that vacation and we realize, yeah, I'm never doing that again. They're not my friend. Like, I would never have done this had I known. Or, maybe you go through something, Mercury retrograde, like anything can happen, right? Maybe you go through something, a death in the family, a loss of a job, whatever it is, and you think that this community, these people are going to be here for you, and then you realize you were wrong. They're not there for you, So there's a lot of ways that this can go about. The Apprentice of Lightning is representing the Knight of Wands. So the Knight is, think of him as like, he's a worker bee, right? He's not the Page of Wands who is like, hey, I want a job. But he's like the Knight of Wands. It's like, I have the job and I am delivering the message, So maybe you're at this point where you're like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm following my list of chores, and then through community, through the people at your job, through your friends, through your family, you realize something. Maybe you're like, well, maybe that's not what I want to do. Maybe that's not who I want to be like. Maybe that's not what I believe anymore, but there's a definite something happening here. And a Hierophant is not a lighthearted card. It makes me think, of just religion. It really makes me think of like, my family is not Lutheran at all. I was raised Christian. My mom's raised Catholic, and they were all Catholic. And for whatever reason, though, the original Hierophant card always makes me think of a Lutheran church. But it makes me think of religion, and so maybe you are learning religion, and I wish you luck if that is a journey you're on, because it's not easy to relearn your old ways. When I asked for what advice for moving forward, I got 4 of Lightning, 4 of Wands, Homecoming, and the Empress, Receive. Come home to yourself. And the Empress, she's just untouchable, She's somebody that people want to be, but it's not something you can just choose to be. You just are, or you're not, And so this advice for moving forward is just embody the Empress. Just be the Empress. People are going to pick at you, tear you apart, try to make you, out to be something you're not. But you just need to come home to yourself, the Empress that you are. And you can be a male and still be the Empress. I mean, it's up to you if you want to be the Emperor or the Empress, I suppose. But the point is, you got to come home to yourself and embody this otherworldly, ethereal person, being that you are. you know, and maybe part of the unlearning process is that, to unlearn that you're not, you don't fit in this little box, okay? Maybe through, through individuals, your family, your old friends, your coworkers. Maybe through them you've realized you're not that person anymore, or this person that you're becoming is not true to who you are, and you need to come home to yourself so that you can be the Empress and receive the gifts of the universe. When I ask what we can expect from the shadow period, the cards that come out for me, for you, are Burden in Reverse, which is 10 of Lightning or 10 of Wands. We have the Moon card, Shadow Work. We have the Temperance card with Just Breathe. And we have the Sun card with Clarity. So, what can you expect from the shadow period? Well, you can expect whatever burdens have been weighing on you to finally start to ease up. Will they go away overnight? No. But 10 wands on one person is a lot. That's a lot. Your shoulder's breaking, you've got bruises all over your ribs. You know, your fingers are probably going numb and turning purple from all the pressure. It's time to let it go. If you see the original depiction, he's really struggling to hold all those things. And who's telling you to hold 10 freaking wands? You know what I'm saying? It's time to let it go. And when we talk about carrying baggage, people don't wake up one day and go, I want baggage. I'm going to create some and I'm going to hold on to it for the rest of my life. No. We have things happen to us. There's no reason, no logical explanation, if you ask me, why any small child should go through horrible things. But sometimes we do. And then we carry it with us. And that's, you know, wand number 1, you know. And then the teacher was mean to me, wand number 2. And then my classmates, wand number 3. And so on and so forth. And then we go, I got fired from my dream job, or my dream school didn't accept me. Maybe my mom was my first bully and my dad was never there for me. You know what I mean? And when it's in the right side up, struggling to hold on to it. These are all falling. They're struggling to hold on to it. And look at all those sharp edges probably poking into their skin and piercing their skin. It's too much for one person to hold, even if we're not upside down, you know? But if you just let it go, it wants to go. It's upside down. It doesn't want to be there anymore. It's trying to wiggle its way out of there, you know? The heaviest weight is what's on the bottom now. If you just slightly loosen your grip, it would just fall right out. Just let it go. Do the shadow work. Maybe that's what's so difficult, is all these years, all your life, you've been saying, wow, my life is so heavy. It's so heavy. It's so heavy. Everything is so heavy. But it's because you've held on to every single thing that's ever happened to you. You've never let it go. You've held every single burden. You've held every single problem, mistake, issue. Sorry, I got a phone call. Anyway, as I was saying, and it's not your fault. You didn't, just like I said, you don't wake up one day go, oh, I want every problem I've ever had to like weigh down my brain and ruin my day. No. But at one point you do have to make a conscious decision to say, it doesn't define me. My grandma being disappointed in me that one time 15 years ago doesn't matter today, you know. Failing that class that one time doesn't matter anymore. You know, what matters is how you go about life now. You need to look inwards. why does it still upset me? Well, because those people treated me wrong. Well, it's not right that they did that. Validate yourself. It's not right. You know, it is what it is. It doesn't mean you have to like it. You can acknowledge it, you know, but you can't let it weigh you down for the rest of your life, because you have way better things ahead of you than whatever the hell that was in the past, you know. So do your shadow work, release the burdens, maybe take the moment to review it all and say, well, no wonder it hurts so bad. Look at it, you know. I would have never done that to my friend. I would have never treated my own flesh and blood this way. I would have, you know, as a teacher, I would have never made fun of a student. Whatever burden still weighs you down, you know. Maybe it's something real serious. You got cheated on. Your sibling, you know, stole from you. Your neighbor popped your tires on your car, like whatever it is, whatever things are really bothering you, acknowledge it, validate it, move on from it. Don't let it bother you anymore, because you've got better things, you know, better things are coming. So after you let it go, do the work, breathe about it for a minute, you're going to get some clarity, and you're going to realize why things happened, you know, why it took so long to get over it. Maybe you're going to realize why that person didn't stay in your life. You're going to realize why you didn't get the job that you thought that you wanted so bad, or the school that you thought you wanted to get into. You're going to realize what this all was leading to. And then when I ask for any extra messages, I get play, take up space, fulfillment, an apprentice of raindrops, or charm. So novice of raindrops, the emperor, 10 of raindrops, apprentice of raindrops. So novice of raindrops, that is that to me is just the extra reminder to have fun in your life. I mean, we saw that card with the 10 of Wands, right? That's a lot. It's too much. After all of that, you need some time to relax, to enjoy things that you used to. Maybe you need to take some time to enjoy music and art and relaxing things. Maybe you need to just go swimming. I mean, right now it's summer and hot where I am. Maybe you need to enjoy that heat. You need to maybe just go back to simpler pastimes. You're being encouraged to take up space. Maybe you have ideas that you're not exploring enough because you've always been told or told yourself that it's not good enough. Maybe you need to play in a way that takes up space. Maybe you need to sing really loud. Maybe you need to dance across a whole room, you know. Maybe you need to just lay on the floor with your arms and legs out wide. Whatever it is. Now, the Emperor, come into your power, be the leader that you are. If you have ideas that you're not sharing because you're just not used to being the one to share those ideas, learn to be that person, you know? Maybe that's part of your shadow work, is letting go of that past version of you that was too shy, too scared, overlooked, you know, told to shut up. Maybe it's time to take up space, play big, you know, do the things that you like to do and are good at, do things that you've wanted to try and never did. And you're going to find your fulfillment. That is an extra message. So you probably just needed an extra reminder that you're going to get there. Maybe you just needed a break. Sometimes we make a lot of progress doing very little, or what feels like very little. Sometimes, you just need to lay down. Maybe you need to just be in bed for a year because you didn't get to for many years before that, and now is the time to rest because you're not going to be able to rest for another 10 years. You know what I mean? Maybe the way to get to this fulfillment is to let go of the burdens and do the shadow work and to breathe so you can get clarity. Go back to simpler pastimes that help you to take up space and be that person that you are on the inside, this bigger than life person, so that you can find your fulfillment. This reads to me that you may meet a new friend. Both of these even could be a page in a night, a new friend coming in. If you're single and looking for somebody, maybe you have a new love interest coming in, a new first date, someone charming, someone playful. All in all, this pile reads to me like you've had a very busy Mercury retrograde. Maybe you didn't necessarily have the best time. Maybe you did. Maybe you got to go on a trip. But you definitely have been thinking about, your own burdens. You've been thinking about why you are the way that you are. It's time to come home to yourself. Again, unlearn those unhealthy patterns that maybe you grew up with, were raised around. If anyone here lost friends during this Mercury retrograde or moved on from old friends, I just want to remind you that there's a couple friends coming in for you. That page in the Novus of Cups, raindrops. Those are two friends coming in for sure. So now we're going to move on to your Moon Witch card. We got Kali, or Kali. Step into unknown. Do not be afraid. Isn't that what we just talked about? Letting go of the old, taking up space, maybe doing things that you've never done before because you were too scared, unlearning old ways. Unlearning old ways only means doing new things, right? So step into the unknown. Do not be afraid. Maybe there's going to be an opportunity that presents itself to you. Maybe somebody you've never gone out with, like a friend or something. Maybe someone like a coworker. Maybe you've had a coworker that's been trying to get you to go out with them and their friends, and you always say no, you're too tired or whatever, but maybe it's time to accept this opportunity. And maybe you're going to have a really great time. Maybe you're going to get this job opportunity and you're not 100% sure about it, but it sounds interesting to you. Maybe you're going to explore doing that shadow work. You're going to explore a part of yourself you've never really been able to acknowledge before, Sometimes we don't let ourselves, admit we're hurting or in love or in pain. Right? That's kind of hurting, right? But you know what I mean. sometimes we don't admit to ourselves if something is wrong or what we truly feel or, you know, what's going on. And maybe that's going to be a new thing for you, is finally admitting to yourself where you are, what you like, what you want out of life. And change is scary, of course, but, you know, clear as day, this is telling you not to be afraid. And you've already got that fulfillment. Look, it's sitting right next to it. You've already got 10 of Drops. That's the 10 of Cups fulfillment card right there. You know, why would you be afraid if you knew that you were going to succeed? You know? For your sacred self-care cards, we got 27, hydrate, and 20, dream journal. Are you sleeping? Are you having sleeping issues? When you wake up in the middle of the night, do you look at your phone and start scrolling TikTok instead of trying to go back to sleep? You maybe try journaling. If you can't sleep, write down, I can't sleep. This is what's on my mind. This is what I'm going to do tomorrow. This is what I wish I could do. This is where I wish I was. You'll find yourself getting more tired than if you were staring at a lit up phone screen. I'll tell you that much. And hydrate. Are you drinking your water? Water is more important than food most times. We can survive a lot longer without food than without water. You know that? Drink your water. Write in your journal. If you've been having weird dreams, write them down. Write them down so you can look at them later. Write them down so you don't forget, because sometimes you'll dream about something and then it'll happen sometimes same day, and it's super weird, and you should take note of those things. And then for your wild child oracle, we got vision. I think that's a beautiful, I think a horse eye. I would say trust your intuition. Maybe, and it goes with that, maybe it goes with the dream journal. Maybe you're going to have a dream about something and you need to take note of it so that you can recall it later and go back and be like, oh yeah, that happened. For your cards, this is so funny. The last two piles, I got a full moon and a new moon, and it happened again. I can't even remember. I hope the last pile was the same. So for, I don't know which one's which. One's an oracle and one's a manifestation. You got new moon in Gemini, think it through. And you got full moon in Leo, don't let pride get in your way. So maybe you have a project in place. Maybe you're working towards a goal. Maybe you're making a decision, you know. Maybe there's something you're unsure of currently, and you just need to think it through a little bit more before you make a final decision. Maybe your pride is getting in the way. Maybe somebody hurt your feelings in the past and you're thinking of hurting them back, or, you know, this is kind of giving, like, as an example, I'm thinking maybe someone had a party and they didn't invite you, and so you've been upset about this, and maybe you don't even typically have parties yourself, but you're planning on having a party just so you can't invite them. Maybe think it through, you know. Do you even, like, it's kind of like planning a party for that person. Would you plan a party, you know, just so that you can't invite somebody? Or, you know, if you were going to have a party and in your head it makes sense to invite them, say it's a family member that you don't really like, right? But you want to invite everyone except for them, including people that you don't really talk to. It's like, just be honest with yourself in the situation. Invite the people that you do like and that you do have a relationship with, and don't invite the people you don't, you know? Or maybe you're about to, you know, go for a position at work. Maybe the manager position's up for grabs, and you want to do it just because you don't want this other person to get it. But that's kind of like letting your pride talking in, like, do you even want to be the manager of the company you're at? You know, like, think about it. Where you're at right now, you get to leave exactly at 5 o'clock, and you don't have to do extra paperwork on the weekends, and you have consecutive days off, and you know that your manager currently doesn't, you know, that sort of thing. Like, do you really want to be manager for like $1 more an hour and way more work? Or do you just have an issue with someone else getting this position? You know, like, maybe that's part of the shadow work that you need to go through and, you know, evaluate within yourself. And then for your chakra card, we've got guilt in reverse. I only took a few cards, a few of the oracle cards in reverse. Guilt in reverse, I'm going to pair up with the 10 of lightning / 10 of wands in reverse. Dog started drinking water again. So anyway, as I was saying, the guilt card is reminding me of the 10 of lightning in reverse, the burden card in reverse. But I did want to take a closer look at this card. You see, she's got the halo, you know, so that tells us, oh, she's wonderful, taking care of this person. That's a bottle of vodka on the table. But you could see they're shackled here. So they're here doing these chores. They've got a halo on their head, but they're doing it because they have to. It's not a choice, you know. They don't have a choice but to do the right thing. They don't have a choice but to ignore what's happening back here because they're chained to their chores here. And so this could mean something different to everybody. Maybe this has been you of, I'm doing everything, you know, to make everybody look perfect, even though we're clearly not. We're struggling, but we're worried about ironing our wrinkles, not quitting drinking. We're worried about ironing our wrinkles. And I've got a halo, you know, I'm good. I've got a halo. Pay no attention to the shackle making me do these things that give me this halo that you see, you know. So maybe it's time to stop doing things just because we're chained to them, just because we feel that we need to. So many sounds today. And maybe that's confirmation. We got to stop doing these things just because we feel like we have to. Because how good of a deed is it if it's just because you feel forced into doing it? You know? Maybe we have to reject these things that we've been chained to and dump out that bottle of vodka by putting our card upside down. This one, it just seems like a heavy card. So if you're finding some special meaning in it that's different than what I've been able to get from it, you know, feel free to take on a new meaning. I truly just want to emphasize that whatever burden and whatever guilt it is that's been weighing you down personally, I think it's time to just let it go and to move on and to just accept a new beginning. You know, don't let yourself be chained to these past responsibilities, these chores that you don't even really, you have a halo, right? It's all about kind of this idea of like, well, I just want to get to heaven, you know. That's kind of what I'm hearing all of a sudden. I'm just doing the right thing to do what I have to do to get to heaven. Like, we've all met those people. And maybe we have to reject that idea that ironing the skirt is what gets you to heaven. Maybe we need to dump out that vodka bottle, save this person that clearly we know them and love them, because we wouldn't be here doing this if it weren't for our love for them. And maybe you both are just feeling your own versions of guilt. You feel guilty because you're not helping them, and they feel guilty because they're not helping you, and maybe you just both need to help each other, you know? And then for your angel message card, we have peaceful resolution. So again, if your themes overall included community, so maybe friends, maybe family, maybe coworkers, let me see real quick. Apprentice of Lightning, adventure. These were your 3 cards here. Sorry about that. So here were your 3 main themes, right? Adventure, the Apprentice of Lightning, 3 of Raindrops, community, and the Hierophant, unlearn. There can be a peaceful resolution here. If you've had this back and forth all over the place few weeks because or including these people, and you've realized things, unlearned things, come to a new conclusion about things, and now you've spent all of Mercury retrograde kind of racking your brain of how to get past it, these are your angels telling you there will be a peaceful resolution. Sometimes we have to say goodbye to people. Sometimes we have to remove ourselves from a situation, whether that be friends, family, a work situation, whatever it may be. This is just encouragement to you that it will get better and you will be at peace. I hope you enjoyed your reading. If you liked it, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. And if it didn't resonate with you, feel free to pick a new pile. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next one. Right, pile 4. I have tried to start your reading several times. Somebody, this must be how you feel. Every time you try to start something, somebody interrupts you, somebody gets in the way, somebody ruins it. Oh my God. These were the cards that fell out when I asked the question, what was your overall theme for Mercury retrograde? We have Knight of Wands, 5 of Swords, and 3 of Swords. Now, Knight of Wands fell out for my last pile as the first card as well. And on that card it said adventure. And so of the many options that could represent, maybe you went on a vacation, a trip, maybe you had a very turbulent, crazy Mercury retrograde, you know. The 5 of Swords represents arguing, fighting, with the goal of winning. You can see that man in the back looks, you know, happy to be where he is. And this guy over here looks like he's got a headache. Maybe you have been in a situation like this during Mercury retrograde where it's just been a fight for the winning spot somewhere, somehow, whether that means you've been applying to schools hoping to get in. Maybe you're on a wait list for a class you're trying to take and it didn't, you know, nobody dropped it, so you weren't able to join, so on and so forth. And then, of course, the 3 of Swords, which is classic heartbreak. Maybe you had a breakup, you know, maybe you've been fighting all Mercury retrograde and you're heartbroken, you feel like you're about to break up. Maybe there's been hardship in the family. Somebody's been fighting to get well, but then they finally, you know, pass away. There's lots of options that could have been happening here, but either way, it looks like you did not have the easiest Mercury retrograde, so I just want to apologize first and foremost. When I asked for what advice we could have for moving forward, I got the Tower card, the Page of Cups, and the Two of Pentacles. To me, this is kind of confusing advice. Maybe a little bit, conflicting. Only because the Two of Pentacles here, to me is such an indecision card. I don't love it as the advice card, but I'm going to take this to say, weigh your options. Now, there's also another way we could look at these cards, which is like this. We can look at our advice as we have two options here. The Page of Cups, which is usually a very young, maybe a bit naive, but sweet, cute. They represent young love, young loving energy. You can see the heart hands here. It's very cute. Cutesy. And pigs are flying there. So maybe there's this option of like, if pigs could fly type of wonderful, where you're, maybe it's somebody, we'll go back to romantic example. Maybe there's somebody who in your eyes is like, I would never have considered this person. They're too cute, they're too sweet, they're too innocent, they're too, this or that. And then they come to you. They're like, look, I like you. I want to go out with you. I want to do this thing. Would you consider it? And now you're considering it, and you're like, I don't even know if you're genuinely this nice, or if a pig is flying right now. You know what I mean? Like, is this reality? And then on the other hand, you have the Tower. So that could be staying in an old stagnant situation you don't want to stay in. That could be choosing something is inevitably going to end in disaster. Say as far as love interests, this is choosing between someone that you might have a real chance with and someone is going to end in breakup at some point or another. To me, it looks like if the Tower and the Page of Cups do represent two different choices to weigh against, one seems obvious to me. Why wouldn't you pick the Page of Cups over the Tower? You know what I'm saying? Unless your decision here is, okay, start another new relationship. Maybe you're somebody who's just always in a relationship, because as we just saw, we had Three of Swords there. Maybe you recently did go through a breakup or a big family, loss or something. Maybe now's not the time to jump into some new relationship with somebody who's a little naive and they're very sweet and whatever. Maybe it's the time to break down that old you, to break down your old world and rebuild, because inevitably after every Tower is the rebuild. Might take a long time. Might be expensive, depending on the situation here. But, that is a very real decision that we have to make sometimes. Do we want to do the hard work of tearing it down to build it back up? Look at the squirrel here. Lightning. Squirrels like trees. I know they bury underground as well, but it looks like his home was just eviscerated by lightning there. Even his acorns look like they're dissolving into nothing. And what is he going to do? He's going to find a new home. He's going to find some more acorns, and he's going to build up his little stockpile for the winter, and he's going to be okay. The squirrel perseveres. The squirrel is one of nature's most, inspiring animals as far as its ability to survive and its drive to. So you could look at this a few different ways. If these are two people and one of them is destructive and one of them is sweet, just go for the sweet person. But if you have two options here and one is to distract yourself with a flying pig of a person, or to tear down and start anew, you'll never regret becoming a better version of yourself. And with that being said, what to expect from the shadow period. So we did get the death card. But this one specifically says death and rebirth. And look at how beautiful it is. Wow. So you can expect a rebirth. So, excuse me, maybe you did go through a breakup. Maybe you did suffer a loss, a very big one. Maybe you're shedding your own old self in a really big way, which can be so difficult. Maybe you're going through some sort of, dark night of the soul type of thing. But you can expect to be reborn. With every tower moment, you get rebuilt. With every death, you are reborn. And I already know that this pile is full of Scorpio, Mars, and what's the last one? 8th house dominant people. Even fire dominant, because I'm seeing a lot of fire here too. But, as a fellow 8th house stellium, I know how hard it is to constantly have to rebuild from the ashes. And it's out of your control. And that's the crazy part, is when you're an 8th house individual or heavy Scorpio chart, you have to just accept the fact that you will always be changing. And you're always going to be a new version of yourself. People who know you probably see this new you every, say there's family members you've only seen around the holidays. Every holiday they think, wow, she changed a lot, or he changed a lot, or I don't recognize you. Every time I see you, you're a new person, and it's a burden. It really is. It's a hardship in its own, but it's also a blessing, because you adapt so much to the new you, to the new things, to the new way that you have to be. Your mind changes. I have personally 8th house moon, 8th house Mars, 8th house Mercury. My emotions, my actual beliefs and thoughts, those things change. And it's difficult, because you're somebody who definitely is very passionate about what you believe in. And so when it changes, you kind of feel like you're just ingenuine to yourself at times. But if anything, you're more genuine to yourself, because you're willing to accept a better truth, Also, I want to say, I think I said earlier, Scorpio ruled by Mars. I do that a lot with the traditional rulers. It's modern rulers, Pluto, I believe. So, yeah, you could also be just like a Pluto ruled individual. I have Pluto in the 4th house, Pluto Scorpio, so I get it there too. What I love here is that you have 3 of Wands with the Queen of Wands. So the 3 of Wands, again, with the traditional illustrations, is somebody looking out at what they have, and it's like they've almost got it all, but it's not enough, you know? So look at her. It's like she's at the beach. She's got her surfboard. She's even got some light, and she's got a little bit of a wave, but not enough. That's not enough to ride. You know, it's enough to look at and think about surfing, but it's not enough to surf. But what I love is over here, the Queen of Wands has 1 wand, and you're only missing 1 over here to have enough for what you're wanting to create there. And maybe through the shadow period and this death and rebirth, you're going to be able to slow it down a little bit and review where you are, what you have, what you need still. Maybe you're going to meet someone who has it for you. Maybe you're going to be that Queen of Wands who gets that last final missing piece and, you know, completes the puzzle for themselves. And then finally, when I asked about any extra messages, I got 4 of Swords and Ace of Cups. Now this deck is just very interesting. The illustrations on it are very interesting. I want to point out for the 4 of Swords, do you see how happy she is to be there? She's sleeping with a smile on her face in a nest of thorns. And she's so comfortable. She's sleeping perfectly, right? Like everything, her arm fits there perfectly, her stomach fits there, her legs fit there just right. And then there's that heart there. See, it's been fixed. It's already been stitched over. But here's that thread. If she moves, the whole thing unravels, comes apart. She's comfortable here, but she will only be comfortable if she stays right here. The moment she moves at all, this heart is just busted, torn apart, ruined. Like, look at all these points that it's tied to. You touch anything, it's over, you know? And maybe that's just how you've been, comfortable where you are, but one wrong move and it's all gonna tumble down. Tower card, you know, starting over again. The 3 of Swords at the beginning. This is a very heavy group, so I'm sorry. I do apologize for the time you've been going through. I can tell it's difficult, but just know that you can get through it. And after these death and rebirths, after these tower moments, you know, after getting through the worst of it, there's always the way better stuff. And it sucks to hear that. You know, I don't believe we have to go through awful things to get better things, but I know after all these awful things, something good has to happen, and something good will happen for you. Here's this Ace of Cups. You can't make this stuff up, you know what I mean? It's been an awful reading. It really has. But you are the Queen of Wands. And, you know, this is your message. Maybe that's the Tower. Is you need to let it unravel. Get out of this nest. It's not comfortable. It's made of thorns, okay? I don't know if you've realized that nest that you've been sleeping in this cramped position, and it's made of thorns. That's why you can't move, and it's why it's gonna hurt. But you're gonna have the Ace of Cups with a new beginning. I see a new person. It could be a new friend. You know, if you're sick of the romance for now, it could be a new friend. If you're in seek of a new opportunity, this could be that new opportunity. And you love it, and it loves you, okay? So after all that BS, you're gonna have some good stuff coming in. And yeah, I apologize again, but you are the Queen of Wands. You are fiery, you're creative, you know. You have leadership qualities about you. You have natural spotlights just built in to you and your aura. When you walk into the room, people look at you, you know. Maybe you need to get a pet. Maybe your Ace of Cups is even a new pet. Pets help us to hone in our magic for sure. Who else is going to make sure that they don't get into things they're not supposed to get into? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get into your oracle cards now. But just keep your chin up, okay? This one, I can tell, is a hard one. Just keep your chin up. Hope for the best. Expect the worst sometimes. Maybe prepare for the worst, but you can hope for the best. And sometimes you gotta let the tower fall. You are smaller than the tower. Do not try to hold it up. You know what I mean? Step out of the way. Let it fall. Some things were, you know, some buildings are meant to be torn down. For your Moon Witch card, we got movement. Inspiration is drawn to motion. Maybe you used to be a dancer. Maybe you are a dancer. Maybe you like yoga or used to, or you like Pilates, or you like working out even, or just going for walks. Maybe you don't do any of those things, but you need to. Pump your blood. I'm hearing just stretch. Just stand there and stretch. Reach for the stars and reach for your toes. And then, you know, stretch your legs wide and reach from toe to toe and pretend you're holding a beach ball and lift it over your head one way and then the other way. You know, do the whole thing. Get your blood flowing. Center yourself in a way that's not you worrying about today. You know, you just think, my name is this. I am this many years. I watched this show last night and it was really good. I have this goal and aspiration. You know, whatever. Do something that makes you feel good. And then flow like water, we got from the sacred self-care cards. This is one of my favorite decks. If I'm just like, what's gonna make me feel better? You know, flow like water. I'm a Pisces. I need to do that sometimes / all the time. It's just something that comes naturally to me. And even if it doesn't, it's something every Pisces has to learn. And at the same time, you need to, you see how all these waters are different colors? They're not all merging together. Just because you're flowing like water doesn't mean you have to go the same way as everybody else. You know? That's something I think Pisces need to learn too. Okay. So anyway, back to the flow like water real quick. I want to say on a more serious note, maybe there's something in your life that you've been resisting, like the breakup, like the ending of a job, like maybe you need to move out of your childhood home and you've been really trying to hold it together because your parents need your help or something like that, you know. But maybe you need to just finally let whatever's going to happen, whatever you've been resisting. If it's just this big thing, it is, you know. doesn't mean starting fights and stuff, but if there's going to be a separation of any kind and it's inevitable and you've just been fighting against the inevitable, you just have to let it happen sometimes, you know? So that's what I'm getting from Float Like Water. For your Wild Child Oracle card, we got Trove in reverse. So when that first fell out for me, I've said a few times, I don't typically take Oracle cards in reverse, but for this reading, I have felt called to, and I don't really take them in a negative way, but with Trove in reverse, I'm taking this plainly to say you either are somebody who you feel like you don't have a lot of maybe things of value, maybe you don't feel like you are someone of value, maybe you feel like you don't have good enough talents or any talents, or maybe you had things literally stolen from you. Maybe you lost property, maybe you lost possessions, things that were really special to you, somebody that was really special to you, an opportunity, you know, reputation. It could be a lot of things, but something really, really good, right? You either don't have it, like you either you either never had the good thing, or it was taken from you or lost from you in some way. That is what I am taking from this card. I can pull you another one because I feel kind of bad with how negative this whole reading has seemed. Let me pull you one more Wild Child card so that we can get something a little bit better. Can I get one more Wild Child Oracle card for pile number 4, please? Okay, Labyrinth. Okay, so I do feel still with the Trove, I just want to say, I think maybe something was wrongfully taken from you. It could be, you know, your good reputation, your belongings, your opportunities. Something was taken from you and it wasn't right. With Labyrinth, I'm seeing, this is like your brain is what I'm seeing, you know, it's very complex. You got a lot going on, and it takes a very long time to get to that center point of the labyrinth, right? It takes a long time to get all the way around through all the twists and the turns and the wrong decisions, and only the very determined and willing are going to get there, right? So I feel like you're just a very complex person, and you're very interesting, and you have a lot of interesting things going on, and you have not had an easy go of it, especially recently. And a labyrinth, I mean, there's a reason people are so interested in them, you know. My dog, sorry. But yeah, I think it's just you, maybe this place you're in, the person you're with, or the problems with your family, maybe it's more centered around they don't get you. They just don't. And that's not your fault. People have to be willing to go out of their way to understand other people sometimes. And you're a complex individual. Sorry, you're a complex individual. You have a lot of depth to you. And it's not a bad thing to be complex. To be complicated maybe is not the best in the world, but to be complex is great. You know, you're just not simple. And maybe there's been family issues or relationship issues, friendship issues. You know, something's been happening, a big shakeup's happened with this last Mercury retrograde, but You're in for some really awesome things. And this is just a compliment to you. You have a really interesting, complex mind. And with everything that's been going on, I know it's been difficult, but don't let it get to you. You know, pick up the pieces from the tower moment. Build up your new thing. Death, then rebirth. And my dog is barking again. I'm so sorry. Okay, so for your Moonology Oracle and Moonology Manifestation cards, you were the only pile that got 2 new moons. Everyone else got a full moon and a new moon, but you got 2 new moons. So none of these necessarily mean when this moon or that moon happens, but with everyone else getting a new moon and a full moon, I'm taking that to mean, you know, 1 full cycle of new moon and full moon, right? For you, since I'm seeing 2 new moons here, I'm going to say this will be at least a cycle and a half, perhaps 2 full cycles before maybe the Ace of Cups. And it doesn't have to mean anything, like I said, but since you're the only one with 2 new moons, I'm just really focused on this. It might take a longer time to heal, for instance. It might take, if you did just go through a big breakup, it might take a long time to heal. If you've been together a long time, it's only natural. And let me just say, if you're somebody who's been in a relationship for many years and you just had a breakup, you need to take time for yourself. I understand a lot of people want to go be physical, you know, you want to go have fun. I get it. And it's all your own decision. It's all your own, you know, given right to do whatever you want to do. But I very strongly encourage everybody to take time for themselves, work on yourself, go to the gym, go on walks, learn how to cook something you know, a style of cooking you've never learned before, learn a new random instrument, you know, take a college class for community's sake, you know what I mean? Like, do something to get your mind off of it, to learn something new, to add a wrinkle into your brain, you know? Don't jump in to any new relationship. Don't go seeking out people because you know that you're vulnerable. You know that you're not going to give to the other person, you know, what maybe they want. Maybe you are, you know what I mean? But you have this potential. This reading has clearly shown that you have so much fire inside of you that's clearly just being torn apart right now by other people. And if you continue to try to give yourself to other people, your energy, your time, your attention, you know, you're not recharging ever. When in that process are you recharging at all? So, you know, come back to yourself. You've clearly had like a go of things from all these cards. So take at least a month and a half or 2 months to really focus on you, focus on the things you love to do. Confidence is your key to success. Trust all will be well. A new beginning is coming to you, and the way that you're going to secure it is by being you. Again, you know, Jupiter just moved into Leo. Wherever Leo is in your birth chart is being expanded. Check. It could be a 7th house, a 5th house. It could be whatever house your Venus is in, you know. It could be, you know, anything. Check where it is in your chart. See what's being expanded. Heal. Take a month to heal. Take a month and a half to heal. Be ready for when this new opportunity comes. You don't want to miss it, and you don't want to feel, you know, still down in the dumps or having created another problem for yourself that you didn't even finish healing over the first one because you're stuck worrying about this new one that you just made, right? You don't want to do that. So for your chakra card, we got enlightenment. I think with this big breakup separation ending that you're experiencing, you're going to come to this enlightenment stage where it all makes sense. You know, you understand why the ending had to happen. You understand why it was never going to work out with this person. Why you couldn't stay in the place you wanted to stay, the job you wanted to keep, you know, why, you know, XYZ, whatever. You're going to come into that moment. And then really quickly, I'm going to let you think of a question really quick. If you've had a question on your mind, if you came here with a specific something in mind as well, go ahead and think about it. This is more of a will this or won't this, yes or no kind of thing, because you were the only pile, again, the only pile that came out with a card that was a very like, you know, yes or no kind of answer. So go ahead and think of something. Your angel answer card was unlikely. I don't know. If you came here with questions about a relationship and wondering if it's going to stand the test of time and last, maybe this is your sign that no, it is not, and it's not in your head, and it's okay. You know, your angels are telling you that this is just not meant to be, you know. Maybe you came here wondering if you should, or if you were going to get this new job or a new opportunity. No. But a rejection is not like, no, you don't get anything ever. It's just a redirection to what you're actually supposed to get. Because again, if things had worked out the way you wanted them to, maybe, you know, it wouldn't have been as good as what the universe wanted to give to you. But because you weren't asking for anything bigger, you didn't get anything bigger, you know? So that is what I have for you. I hope you enjoyed. Again, I'm so sorry that it's been rough. I want to pull another card for this pile again. I'm going to pull another angel answers because I didn't love that one. So, can I get one more angel answer card for pile number 4? This one jumped out. Ask for help from others. Okay, that's a good one. So if you're heavy Scorpio, heavy 8th house, you know, if you've been going through a rough time, you know what I just heard? Maybe you're dating somebody that people don't like, or, you know, maybe you've broken up before. You know, maybe there's something going on where it's like, oh, I can't go to anybody for advice or help, or, you know, to vent or cry about it because they're just going to say, I told you so. Well, this is a sign that there's at least 1 or 2 people out there that you can talk to about this situation that will hear you out, and they're not going to treat you badly because they understand how difficult it is to just be human. And based on your cards, maybe you were in an abusive relationship, whether that's your family, romantic, friendship, even, you know, coworkers can be abusive. Maybe you're in a really tough position that you don't think anyone will understand, and so you're scared to bring it up. You're scared to talk about it. Maybe you've been told by this person you're having issues with, nobody cares about you, nobody loves you, I'm the only person that would ever, you know, take you or whatever. You have to know that that's not true. You can ask for help from others, and that there's people out there that are willing to help you, even strangers, okay? There are hotlines, helplines, places you can go to in person. There's people that'll help you. And this heaviness that you're going through, you know, you got 3 of the most heavy cards in the deck. 3 of Swords, the Tower and the Death card. You're clearly going through a lot. This is my validation towards you, okay? I validate your experience. You're clearly going through a lot, and you should ask for help. You should go to somebody for help, and you should not feel ashamed for needing help. There are people in this world that will make you feel that way, and it's because they never went to somebody for help, and that's on them. They don't need to put their burdens onto you, you know? So that's my final message and advice for you. Don't sit in this pain you're in. I know that one wrong move / one move at all will, you know, basically break the camel's back, one last piece of straw, but you just need to let that moment happen, and you can ask for help, and there's going to be a beautiful new opportunity in the future, and it might not even be that far away. It could just be as little as a month and a half away, you know? So thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped. I hope it, at the very least, gave you some sort of validation and clarity. If you felt it resonated, please comment below, like and subscribe. There will be more in the future, and I hope to see you there. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day and Mercury retrograde. I know it ain't easy out there, but we got this. Okay, take care.